Well, speaking of endings, let's turn now to the subject of the birds, one of your recent pictures with a somewhat controversial ending. Did you intend the birds to be a fantasy?
Well, I think most of the films I make are fantasies. They're not slices of life. They're all larger than life. North by Northwest was a nightmare. If I'd had my own way and was not considering the global audience, I would have jumped that man all over America like a nightmare, from one dreadful experience to another. But I had to smooth it out for audiences. So that was a real fantasy. Sure, The Birds was a fantasy.
But it had a tremendous air of reality to it, nevertheless.
So there were nightmares.
What was it that appealed to you in the Daphne du Maurier short story on which the film was based?
Oh, I think it was an example of an extremely unusual occurrence. I think the unusual nature of the occurrence appealed to me.
And how did you go about casting a writer for the screenplay? I presume you cast writers to work with you as you would cast actors.
I remember one writer I had in, I think he was an English writer, who said to me, well, I see this film done only in one way. You should never see a bird.
Once you had decided against the approach of never seeing a bird, at what point did you begin to consider the technical problems involved in putting the story on film?
Never dared face them at the outset, otherwise the film would never have been made. We had to play it by ear.
Well, at what stage did you finally have to turn your attention to technical considerations?
Oh, at the beginning of the picture, but they were so involved that we were well on the way in the shooting that we had to face up to these enormous technical problems. In the film as a whole, there were about 28,000 birds used, 3,000 of them trained, 30 of them specials, and about 4 leading actors. Corbis was a very, very good actor, one of the Ravens. And he had to peck someone, he never missed a take. He was on cue every time. In fact, in some of the scenes where we had the crows chasing children down the schoolhouse street, they were superimposed on the original film. So they were shot against a plain background in the studio, from one perch to another across the screen. And they got so used to the commands that they were anticipating them. When the cameraman said roll them, they flew before they should have done. So they had to end up by not giving any verbal commands at all. They were very smart.
Con su ritmo pausado, esta escena de los pájaros es una de las más grandes secuencias de Hitchcock. La esencia de todos sus conocimientos de este arte. Podemos ver la amenazante congregación. La chica no la ve. Durante la película se nos concede el conocimiento que se les niega a los personajes de que la naturaleza en sí misma, no la naturaleza de un único ser humano, es desorden en rebelión. Como la mayoría de nosotros, esta mujer es en el sentido legal inocente de los crímenes contra la naturaleza. No ha hecho nada para merecer tal irracional persecución. Por otra parte, en el universo de Hitchcock, nadie es moralmente inocente. Todos estamos marcados por algo como el pecado original, definido aquí como indiferencia hacia el orden natural.
Básicamente, en Los pájaros, lo que tenemos es a toda la gente tomándose a los pájaros a la ligera, hasta que los pájaros un día se vuelven contra ellos. A los pájaros los hemos disparado, nos los comemos, los metemos en jaulas. Han sufrido de todo a causa de los humanos. Y ya era hora de que se rebelaran. No maltratéis ni os metáis con la naturaleza. Mirad a dónde nos ha llevado que el hombre se involucrara con el uranio 235. Se ha tomado el uranio 235 a la ligera. No parece nada, pero es peligroso. ¿Quién sabe? Es posible que en el año 3000 o 4000 los animales se hayan hecho cargo de la tierra.
Birds are not aggressive creatures, miss. They bring beauty into the world. It is mankind...
Sam, 3 Southern fried chicken. Baked potato on all of them.
Yes, may I speak to Mitch Brenner, please? Yes, I'll wait.
It is mankind, rather, who insists upon making it difficult for life to exist upon this planet. Now, if it were not for
Mrs.
birds...
Bundy, you don't seem to understand. This young lady said there was an attack on the school.
Impossible.
Oh, Mitch?
It's the end of the world. Thus saith the Lord God unto the mountains and the hills and the rivers and the valleys. Behold, I, even I, shall bring a sword upon you.
Birds have been on this planet, Miss Daniels, since Archaeopteryx, 140 million years ago. Doesn't it seem odd that they'd wait all that time to start a war against humanity?
No one called it a war.
Scotch light on the
You and Mr. Scholes seem to be implying as much.
Gulls are scavengers anyway, most birds are. Get yourselves guns and wipe them off the face of the earth.
That would hardly be possible.
Why not, Mrs. Bundy?
Because there are 8,650 species of birds in the world today, Mr. Carter. It is estimated that 5,750,000,000 birds live in the United States alone, the 5 continents of the world.
Kill them all, get rid of them messy animals.
Probably contain more than 100 billion birds.
It's the end of the world.
They're attacking again. Well, none of you stay in here. Come on out.
Las evasiones normales, ciencia y religión, estudiadas con sensatez, son satirizadas y reniegan de nosotros. Debemos defendernos lo mejor que podamos de bestia a bestia y esperar que se apiaden de nosotros.
Para mí, el arte del cine consiste en la habilidad de gustar a un público mundial en cualquier idioma. El énfasis en la imagen te permite llegar al mayor público posible.
Look at the gas. That man's lighting a cigar.
Hey, you! Don't drop that man! Come on, get out of there! Mr. Run! Watch out! Look out! Look out! Watch out!
Si utilizas una serie de tomas cortas, es totalmente factible realizar una escena dentro de una cabina telefónica. Pero caballos al galope y miles de cabezas de ganado desbocadas no es necesariamente cine. Eso es lo que yo llamo fotografía.
Cuando aparece la muerte y la destrucción en las películas de Hitchcock, a menudo la cámara se retira hacia un ángulo a gran altura para estudiarlo desapasionadamente. Es como el ojo de un dios despiadado, indiferente e irónico, que siente curiosidad por la desesperada algarabía que ocurre allá abajo y en la que se permite no intervenir.
El mal es el completo desorden, aunque es común en la práctica.